Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Roadish Podcast. My name is Rune, and as always, I have with me Armand.
Hello, people.
As always, we start the same way. We're still getting pretty decent at that kind of thing. So we have a few things to go over. This is gonna be an odd one. So first and foremost, we missed last week. Do you want to come up with an excuse?
Now my old head teacher had a saying.
No.
Listen. Personal best, no excuses. Right.
Okay.
So I have no excuse. We didn't meet the expectations. But
the expectations that we set ourselves, because we say that they're going to go out on Friday just because of ease of this, that, and the other. We were meant to do it Friday, and then we really didn't feel like it. It was late by the time that we would have started, and we were like, you know what, it's just put it off over the weekend. And then it is an excuse, also / a reason. We both forgot. We just forgot. Just straight up over the whole weekend, we just forgot. So that doesn't exist. So sorry to anyone who was expecting one over the weekend or Friday or whenever. This one will go out on Friday. Okay, it will be there. You'll be listening to this on Friday. I'm gonna check the date actually. What would the date be? I don't know. The 10th. You're listening to this on the 10th. So we're gonna do a catch up. I just want to start off with a few things to start with. The whole reason. Actually, no, it's not the reason. That's the latter point. I'm taking you don't know this either. I'm taking a break from Tarkov. I'm not playing for this week at all. I'm not really like engaging with the game at all because it's fucking destructive, okay? It's fucking destructive, right? I'm behind on so many things because all I'm thinking about all the time is fuck, I need to play Tarkov. And it's what happened over the weekend. We literally did that over the weekend, and we just totally forgot to do the podcast thing. And so, like, this is something that we've chosen to do ourselves, so we should keep up with that. I'm behind on washing, like clothes washing, which I'm going to be doing literally after this podcast because that needs doing. I'm massively behind on doing my car, which I ended up having to do yesterday, and I've still got more of that to do. Other life things are being set aside and deprioritized because of this fucking game, okay? I'm taking a break this week. I'm not on it. I can't, okay? It's taking over.
Oh.
But with that said, how are you doing on Tarkov?
With Tarkov,
yeah,
it's fine. Like I can, like at any point, I can leave it and go do what I need to do for that day or whatever. Like I'm not behind on anything specifically.
Yeah, but you get told off if you don't do things. You have legally binding things. Like I go to work and whatnot, but even while I'm at work, I'm watching fucking Tarkov video. Or I'm listening to the fucking the podcast, which is a Tarkov-based podcast. Yeah, I need to take a break.
I think Rune has a problem.
I don't have a problem. It's fitting the time in. Sorry, I'm vaping at the same time still. Okay, I'm fine. It's fitting the time in. Like, Tarkov is not a game you can just jump in and out of. Like, it's you need to be. It's
there
you need to be very present. Like, not all the time. Obviously, like inventory management and things like that. But I don't want to take over this podcast with shitty Tarkov chat. But it is one of those games that I can understand them casual players that just play like 1 to 2 hours in an evening, just to kind of like they want to enjoy the game a bit, maybe shoot some scabs, this, that, and the other, no big deal. You can't do that with this type of game. If you want to be involved, you have to be like properly involved, especially if things go wrong for like one evening and it's like you're so set behind. And it's like, okay, well, I've kind of wasted an evening because I gained nothing. Anyway.
I hate games like that, but I tend to only play games like that.
Yeah, same. I had this conversation the other day with someone, and I don't enjoy any other type of games. I tried that Gloria Victus, the medieval, the Viking type fighting game.
Yeah,
I just not the same enjoyment. I don't know any other game at the moment that I'd be able to like turn on and be like, yeah, I'm actually like enjoying this. Like nothing is sparking that interest to me.
I enjoy certain story games. Like I have played High on Life recently, and I haven't finished it because Tarkov.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, all Tarkov things. But no, I need to take a break. and I will take a break, and that'll be fine. Other than that, I haven't had an awful lot going on, but obviously, as I just said, like I got car stuff to do, life things of the laundry. Work's been going well. Yeah, and apart from that, I'm just trying to catch up on everything. But with that, what have you been up to? What's been the last kind of, I suppose by this point, 2 weeks?
Well, it's been going pretty well. I let myself be thrown in the mud by a person, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have respected myself and not waited 4 hours for them to show up.
Yes, we had this conversation. Yeah, this was strange.
That was my fault, honestly. I can't blame anyone else for it. All my friends were like, "Bro, go home."
Well,
I was like, "No,
give
I'll
some context. You've started midway through a story. Give some context.
Right. So I was going out with this person, obviously this girl, and we were planning to go out for ages. And then this stuff came up for her, stuff came up for me. And then one day we were like, "Oh yeah, we're both free on that day. We can both, hang out for a couple hours. Let's do that." So we decided to hang out. I called her in the morning. She's like, "Oh, you woke me up. Actually, I didn't wake up. Or I completely forgot to set an alarm." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, get ready. We'll meet there at like 12." I get there at 12:30, which I'm a bit late, but I'm not normally late. And then she messaged me saying, "Oh yeah, I'll be 30 minutes." 4 hours later, at 4:10, she shows up. Now, I wasn't completely okay with that because throughout that time I was like, texting my friends and that, and they were all like, "Bro, go home."
I told you this. When you told me this story, I was like, why did you even stay? Like an hour, I would have been gone.
Yeah. And then after she showed up, here's the kill it all. We were in the city center of the city where I live, and we ran into some old friends of hers. And we ended up spending all the time together with those friends, which, by the way, were men. The whole time we just spent with her until she had to take the train and go somewhere else.
Okay, so one thing I didn't ask prior, did you set this up? Were you explicit? I've given you this advice before, someone would be pissed off if you didn't listen to it. Were you explicit in saying, this is a date for us to hang out?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
I did. Yeah, okay. It was obvious it was a date. We both stated it was a date. And I feel like it was just pretty, dick move to just be like, "Oh, yeah, we met with these friends. We're going to hang out with them now because that's what I feel like doing." But we passed by that, we move on. Life moves on. It's not like I wasted the whole last day.
Well, yeah, you did. At the end of the day, you did waste the day.
And then after that, anything else special happened? I went to this buffet, and it was so good. I ate so much I had to go take a shit and then come back and eat more.
For fuck's sake. Okay, we didn't need that bit of info. I think it was
very good.
You've taken a life lesson from this, a learning experience. In any other circumstance, if someone was an hour late, let alone 4 hours late, you wouldn't hire them. So if either it's an interview situation, you wouldn't hire someone in that sense. If a employer turned up that late, you wouldn't want to work for that company. Any other meeting in any other time frame, usually you give or take a bit of an hour, maybe you got some traffic issues or this, that, and the other, but the severe lack of communication and just straight up lying, you'd just be like, "Nah, I'm not doing this."
And the thing is, we would message, I would message her, like, "Hey, yo, where you are? Give me updates." And she'd respond 20 minutes later. And bro, you're a woman in 2023. You can't tell me you don't always have your phone on you. Don't lie. I know your phone is on your person.
Possibly. Don't tell me that's an assumption, because I know quite a few people. I can be the same as well. Is that a lot of the time, people just throw their phone somewhere and just ignore it for hours. But then they'll get annoyed when someone doesn't reply quickly, and it's you do exactly the same. So I do understand it from that point of view, but it's a bit of an assumption to say that they're living on their phone or they're constantly. Maybe they are. Maybe they just actively ignoring.
I know them. I know them. That's the problem. So actively ignoring me and then me 4 hours late. It's bro, come on.
That's a life lesson. You take the experience, you move on from it, and be like, I don't need to associate with this person. There are other people. If you don't want to appreciate my time, then someone else will, and that'll be fine. And yeah, it is exactly that. I think the only thing that I've got that happened in the last 2 weeks is I was almost in a car crash because the van wasn't indicating. That's about it. simple little roundabout thing close to home, which is where most accidents happen. They happen in your most familiar areas, and he just didn't indicate, and then he beeped at me as he like almost drove into the side of my car.
Right, I want to ask you something.
Yeah, you can do. And then I've got a bit I've got a small gripe afterwards. But yeah,
okay.
Go on. Ask as much as you want.
What's your opinion on, let's say, right, for example, Valentine's Day? I don't think I've got anyone, right? So I went to my best friend and I was like, hey, yo, bro, want to be my Valentine? Like, is that bad?
No, it's not. Okay, so this is a weird area for me because like I don't do like the weird social holiday stuff that a lot of other people do, and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm that one, I'm special and unique. I'm sure there are plenty of other people that don't. I don't take like a lot of joy in like my birthday. I don't really care about the whole Christmas thing, other than that I get time off of work. Like Valentine's isn't a holiday, but it's something that we celebrate. I'm very much the same. I'm kind of like apathetic. No, that's probably not the right word, but I'm sure people don't understand what I mean. I just hit my mic stand. Fuck. The whole general like Easter, things like that, I get that there's like a religious tie, but even if you want to take that away from it, family growing up and whatnot, we never had a religious tie. I just don't put much emphasis on any of those kind of events. I just don't bother really. I will go out of my way though if someone else likes it. So like this year, we're not doing anything massive, but we're doing something. I don't mind that. Like I'll placate and be like, yeah, cool, we can go do a thing. They have the understanding that I don't view it the same way they do. But in your situation where you're like asking your mate, that's fine. Yeah. Like it depends on how much weight you put behind those kind of things. If it's like, okay, be my Valentine, that's different. Like there's a different level. But if it's like, oh yeah, let's be fucking Valentines. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like what, bro, we're going on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, fuck it. May as well. It's like, not to say I think it should be more of a social norm of being like, okay, I'm just going to spend the evening being social. Fine. Do it with whoever. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people that, if I wasn't in the situation that I would be in, I know someone that I'd be like, half jokingly, in a roundabout sense, be like, yeah, cool, fuck it, we're going to go do a thing for Valentine's. We're both free. Like, everyone wants to go do a thing. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah.
I was going to bring up the quick gripe of why you keep sending me, like, weird propaganda bollocks on Instagram. Yeah, exactly. Like right, Donald Trump videos and fucking Jordan Peterson shit and fucking PragerU bollocks, and I'm like, just take 2 seconds to think through the things that are being said here.
The latest fucking Instagram reel or whatever I sent you from Donald Trump, I 1000% agree with that. Okay.
What, that you should legislate it?
No, not.
Well, that's what he's saying. He was saying there should be consequences, federal consequences for not recognizing male and female as the only genders, whereas gender is a social construct that we use in a utility sense. He's not even used the word correctly. If he used the word sex, okay, fine. That's how we biologically define two sexes, and then there are some weird bits in between on a very, very small minority. It becomes a medical condition. But that's why we then have a different word of the societal gender that we then want to perform as, if you will.
Right. What I took away from that video is let's not teach children about the whole LGBTQIA plus thing and include them they're young, right? Let them discover that thing on their own, and let's not teach them that in school, right?
What do you mean by, let's clarify, children? What do you mean by children?
Anyone under the age of 18.
Anyone under the age of 18? So you mean the same set of people that...
16.
I was going to say, because at the 16 point is you're determining the rest of your life. So I think that this is one of those weird things where children, this is odd to say, it's one of those odd, like, references that isn't particularly comfortable, and we'll question it afterwards. Children as young as, like, possibly 6 months in the womb are kind of aware of sexuality in some form of a way. Like, in the same way that when a toddler is handed certain toys, like, I'd have to bring up something more specific. They have some sort of weird, not fully understood, but some understanding of, like, a sexual sense, if you will. I'm not familiar with all the terminology and this and the other, which is why what's wrong I'm going to use the word wrong as like some weird moral weight thing. What's wrong with informing them that these people exist?
It's what's wrong?
If you just want
No.
to say you don't like it, that's fine, but it's also not an argument.
No. Right, no, I agree with you on this, but no, it's not necessarily that it's wrong, but it is something that has not been a thing. I don't know. That's not been a thing. It's not been because this, right, honestly, this whole gender thing and LGBTQI, it's all a social construct, right?
Most things are.
At the end of the day, it means jack shit, right?
Well, it's not that it means no, it's we gain utility from categorizing certain things. It's why we make words the way that we do, because we hope that the person on the receiving end of our communication also has some sort of understanding of what we're saying to be able to communicate an idea. So it's not that they're useless. It's just we make shit up all the time. Like languages, you don't find them in nature. They're not like around. We haven't like plucked them from the sky. We've made them so that we have some utility out of them. All I'm trying to do is, I'm not being like, let's bring you around to an idea. Let's just justify some things. Or like, okay, there might be some uncomfortable truths. I know that there are some weird things in the world that make me slightly uncomfortable. But I wouldn't want to, like, in the video that you sent me, legislate it and be like, fuck no. I don't want to, like, start... Like, this is the whole thing with, I think we touched on it very briefly in the past. C-16, the Canadian law.
Right, yeah.
Everyone lost their fucking mind over it. New York had already had it in place. Like, it was exactly the same. It was just Jordan Peterson losing his shit saying, they're trying to take away my free speech, or like they're trying to censor. No, they're not. If you own a business or a building and you're a landlord, you can't discriminate in the same way with protected classes. You can't discriminate against a trans person in a workplace or a business. It's fine. We do that for loads of other groups. Why not just include them? They already face some sort of discrimination societally. We're just going to protect them by law because people do that. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, right.
But then if we loop back round, that's why I'm trying to get to the not to the bottom of, try to explore the idea of what's wrong with informing children that these people exist in the world. They're obviously they might come across them at some point in their life. They might walk down the street and be like, why are there two men holding hands? Informing them of that doesn't do any harm.
Right, but here's from my experience, and I know, it's only one experience, but that's how I perceive it.
Yeah,
right?
we can
in my
start
experience,
with that.
The way they teach it, it's I don't want to. Right, I have nothing against anyone. Right, I treat everyone equally. Right, I like and dislike people equally. Right.
Okay, I'm opening a can. This is gonna make noise. Sorry. Go on.
But the way I've been taught it is saying, "Oh, it's okay to." Right, I'm okay if they said it's okay to explore. 100%, yes. Go explore. Go test everything. Right? Not everything. Don't try drugs.
There are certain lines, but yeah, we understand that socially.
But the way they say it is like the norm is you should be part of the LGBT. The way I have been presented this in school is like, okay, the norm now is you should be part of the LGBT, right? I personally, in my school, right, I feel not necessarily, how do I put this? I don't feel like, what the fuck is the word, bro? Words don't word right now. Not segregated. Not like a smaller version of the
chastised. Maybe I don't know.
A smaller word of the word of discriminated, like less than discriminated.
Okay.
Against
ostracized, maybe.
Okay. As a straight male, compared to other male friends that I have that are not straight or that are trying to be female or other unspecified genders, right? And I feel this coming from teachers and not from my peers, because I surround myself with like-minded people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, every group does that to some degree. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but like, there have been many examples where I am treated differently because they know I'm a straight male with different beliefs to the guy who is homosexual and behaves the exact same as I do. And I don't looking at this. I don't believe this is fine. Like there have been parts of like my school life where because someone is swinging the other way, have been cut more slack than me for doing the exact same thing. Like
I'm not sure what you mean by the exact same thing, as in like
right. So
mindset wise.
So let's say we talk in class, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I talk in class, the teacher screams at me, right? But if my gay friend talks in class, the teacher's like, "Can you please be quiet?"
Okay. I can understand that.
Why?
I can understand that in a like a discriminatory way. We're all discriminated against to some degree. Like if you're not tall enough, you can't go on a certain park ride, like in a theme park. Like we're discriminated against it because I'm not tall enough. Like women only gyms, like that kind of thing. We're discriminated against. Be like, okay, there's a specific place, but it's not like we're limited because of it. As in, like, I'm obviously a cis male. Like I kind of played with the idea of possibly being non-binary just because I have absolutely no tie to being a male. I don't care. It doesn't affect me day in, day out kind of thing. If we were to like take it back, but not quite as far as the foundation, do you think it could possibly be, just putting the idea out there, is because for the vast majority of our social history is that, typically speaking, straight males haven't been like discriminated against in any kind of overarching way, in that maybe in the sense of like the way that children are punished when it comes to like expressing emotions, which we can get into that whole different conversation, but there's maybe more lenience there as to trying to destigmatize the idea that these people are almost at a disadvantage socially because they're seen in certain ways, this, that, and the other. So trying to envision that in a classroom where like people are obviously influenced by the teachers and the things that they say, and maybe some of their beliefs along the way as well, is that I think the example that you brought up is one of the examples that I would say there should be more fairness there. That like if one person talks, it should be, if anyone talks, they should be treated the same. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether we could tie that to their sexuality at the particular time, I don't know. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe there's different expectations. I know that personally, I have a sister. There's way different expectations on her than there are for me. She could get away with like fucking murder. I could barely step away out of, like, I couldn't put a foot out of line because there were different expectations of me as a person. It wasn't because she was a female and I'm a male. Like it was maybe because she was younger. I don't know. But she continues to also get away with murder, and I'm using that like colloquially. She hasn't actually murdered anyone, but she could get away with a hell of a lot. Yes. I keep an eye on a lot of things because the family tell me a lot of things and we don't get along for a vast array of reasons. So I don't know if it really ties into, maybe the way that we're going to educate about these things is going to be on the softer side because of the stigmatization that's happened beforehand, whereas it hasn't happened to this other class of straight males because that's been what's considered the norm. We're introducing something new that's being a little bit more accepted, and it will be slowly more accepted over time. I hope to a certain point that everything will always be the norm. All of it will be the norm. And there won't be like this, I don't want to keep using the word stigmatized, but like there won't be this like discrimination against a certain group for a certain thing, because all of it will just be like, oh yeah, that person's so-and-so, that person's so-and-so. That's really reasonably normal. But we have to take steps to get there first. It can't be just like, oh yeah, just treat them normally all the time. It's like, yeah, but we don't do that. We have to be somewhat more realistic. There has to be steps involved to be able to get to that point.
I get your point.
Yeah, but I do understand the frustration with like, if you were to talk in class, you're going to get told off for it. But if someone else talks in class, they don't get maybe as told off for it. And it's like, well, why? That one I would question a little bit more. But I would have to see the language in which they're like teaching it. But you can't teach this to like 4-year-olds. Like they want to stab themselves in the face with forks. Like you can't teach like big social constructs to them. But you can
there's people my age that can't understand social constructs, so it's not.
So there needs to be some sort of like steps and progress in that way to be like, okay, this is how we're going to approach this certain thing. I don't know if there's a curriculum on it. I haven't been to school for God knows how long.
We know you're old.
Yeah, exactly. I would have to see kind of like how they would go about it, and if you have gripes with it, that's fine. Maybe it's something that we can bring up here. I'm just not seeing anything particularly wrong. I'm saying wrong maybe in a moral sense. I don't know if it maybe be in an ethical sense of informing younger people that this kind of thing does exist in the world, because school is meant to be an environment that kind of trains you for the rest of the world how to conduct yourself in other environments.
Yeah, and personally, I believe it should be a thing that's getting taught at home, right? Because like, right, school should teach you the academic stuff, and the life stuff you should learn from your parents. Because if we all get taught in school the same life stuff, then we create the same human. And personally, I believe we should all get taught by our parents. So not necessarily to have diversity, there's diversity anywhere, but to have a sense of different looks on life, right?
But then aren't you just being taught by the in group? Like you're gonna be circular. Could you say the same for like Christians? Like I'm an atheist. I have nothing like, I have some gripes, but nothing major against like Christianity and whatnot. But if that was taught at home, then they would be taught their specific rule set that would surround that, like, or their take on the religion.
Is different. Religion is different. Can you say that religion is the same as sexuality? No.
No, I'm using the concept, just the overall concept of the homeschooling bit of being like, we should teach this at home. It's like, well, you're only going to hear the small slither of what they already believe.
Social constructs should be taught at home. Like, no, not as in like, oh yeah, being gay is bad. No, it's like, oh, listen here, Timmy. You know, in the world, there's people that like this and this and this and that, and then you should, treat everyone equally and respectfully, no matter what they do.
But that might not be. But if that isn't the viewpoint of the parents, and say they're like homophobic, then they're going to be teaching them their mindset on it. They're not going to be the non-biased, like, oh, well, I actually fucking hate gay people, but they exist in the world, and you should learn to. If you really want, you can go down that route. But I'm using it as there's context surrounding it. But that would be taught and passed on, because that's the parents' mindset thinking that, like, I was taught that as well, and I won't go into specifics of what the words were used, but I was taught in a way to discriminate against Asian people, which at the time we would refer to as Indian people, with certain language that I won't repeat for the podcast because it will get fucking destroyed for it. But I was taught that because of
cancel Rune, he's racist.
Well, this is the thing. I had to recognize it afterwards, and it took me like 3 or 4 years to get out of the loop of using that type of language, because my dad used it all the time, and that was the mindset he had. And it was like, it would be small things, but it would still be there, and I'd be like, fuck, that's offensive as shit. Like, there's absolutely no reason for me to do this. I'll let you know after the podcast what the particular like words and phrases that we use. I'm not going to repeat them here, but I had to get that out of my head because I had some weird like subconscious bias because of the environment that I had. I mean, again, I know that it's one particular situation, but I would like to think that it applies on the whole. If your parents have a view set, they're going to pass that view set onto you, and you're not going to. If it was only in that environment that you were taught those things, you're not going to have like an opposing view like you would in, say, a school place where there's a diversity of people from different backgrounds that are going to have different viewpoints. Be like, actually, I haven't thought through this because I'm hearing other opinions and I'm taking them on board. That's fine to do so. I think we should also all do that, or at least strive to do so to some degree. But getting out of that mindset is going to be tough. Like I know it was.
Not necessarily. For example, my granddad was extremely racist towards Hungarians. Right, but I don't hate Hungarians. I believe they're very nice people.
It depends on the exposure that you have. It's not. I would assume, maybe you did. I'm only assuming by this point. You can correct me if I'm wrong. That you wouldn't have had like constant. Maybe let's say, if it's going to be parents, and we'll apply it to the example that you brought up, almost daily exposure to that possible mindset.
Well, I lived with my granddad for 6 years of my life.
Okay.
So I lived with him for quite a big chunk of my life. Like I lived with my grandparents, right? Because my parents first emigrated to a different country, and then I still lived with my grandparents, and then I emigrated with them. But so I lived with my grandparents for a big chunk of my life, and I had no one but my grandma and my granddad, and sometimes my parents would visit, right?
Why do you
So
think
I
you
was
didn't take on that viewpoint then? What in your head was like, oh, I don't need to accept this?
because I grew up to I didn't right. Here's how I got taught by my parents to view
Mm-hmm.
people. You don't view people by how they look or like what they do or who they are. Like you could judge people by what they've done to you, right?
Yeah, I
So
was going to say the middle point of what you said, what they do. I'll judge someone on actions based on, or
right,
maybe
so
the words, but
if let's say I met you in real
mm-hmm.
life and you were very nice to me and all of that, I wouldn't be like, oh, Rune is a dickhead because someone told me he's a dickhead. No. I wouldn't listen to that, right? I wouldn't be racist to you if you were black. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have anything against you from the moment I met you, unless you've done something wrong to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you started a fight with me. Then yes, I would probably dislike you. But I wouldn't dislike you because you have black hair or because you're a beard. No, I would dislike you because you tried to start something with me for no reason.
Yeah. But then surely you could apply that to, in the same sense, again, to loop back round, teachers that are informing kids that these things exist in the world doesn't affect you because it's not all about you. We'll put it down that way. These are big social constructs that a lot of people have to buy into. It's like, at the end of the day, does it affect you? Not really. Is it ever going to affect you? Maybe, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. But legislating against it? Okay, how far do you want to go with that? Because say one day, I know it's probably not going to happen, but it has happened in the past, and I know of one example that comes to mind. Say a guy grows up 50 years of his life, and then at 50 he's like, shit, I'm gay. But he's actually got 3 kids and a wife at home. It's like, well, now I'm stuck in a situation where I'm manically depressed because I can't be who I feel that I am internally, and that's fine. It's a subjective experience that you're unable to like properly show to other people other than through words and obviously explaining to other people. It's like that family might be destroyed, but on like a whole, if it's legislated against because everyone had the same mindset, it's like, yeah, no, this is illegal. And it's like, okay, the way I feel internally and the way that I now want to express myself is ruled against by law. I don't know how comfortable I am with that.
Right. You made that make sense.
Well, I'm not saying I've solved it, and it's not going to be a quick fix.
I haven't solved it, but you've made it make sense from your point of view.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if it doesn't, generally speaking, I think we've said about this in the past before, is that if something doesn't directly affect my life in a negative way, I don't know why I should have much say in it, which is why I'm like, whenever, it's been asked when I used to stream and whatnot, how I felt about abortion and all that kind of thing. It's like, that's not something that's ever going to affect my life. I just think that other people should have the right to be able to do what they want with themselves, because...
So you're pro-choice?
I'm pro-choice in a sense of like, because it's never going to be something that I can either affect because I'm not in politics. Yeah, I can advocate for, that's fine. But like, it's never going to have there's never going to be a detrimental point for me. But if it comes to a point where you're like, say the condom breaks and I'm nowhere near, like, I don't want kids. At the moment, I'm not fussed. It's not something I put a lot of thought into, but I'm not taken by the idea. I was actually asked this at work as well earlier. It's weird. I would like the opportunity, as I would assume the woman would in that situation as well, to be like, we're not ready for this. We're not financially stable. We don't have our own place. There's not the physical space to be able to accommodate for this. I don't think it's going to be a smart or even like a smart emotionally good idea to be able to bring this life into the world yet. I would like that choice. And if it's not inhibiting on anyone else, like it doesn't affect anyone else, if anything, it's going to be a drain on everyone, because we now have to apply for some sort of tax credit or be like, we need governmental assistance, and other people are now going to have to pay for it because I was in a situation financially to not fund that. It's like, okay, well, I'd rather, just make that active choice on my own to be like, I don't want anyone else involved. No one else should be involved. A thing happened by mistake. It was an accident. I want this available, or this option available to me. But
yeah,
it's something that we can loop back round to. That's fine. At some point, maybe I'll play the video on here, and we can go over. Is mainly like a deep dive into justifications of just being like, I feel uncomfortable about a thing. Okay, that's fine. Let's have a dive into it and see why. There are things that I know that I'm like viscerally uncomfortable with that I have absolutely no justification for.
Hmm.
But that could get a little... Well, should I bring it up? Should we
Go
bring it
for
up
it.
as a possibility in the future? It was a big conversation about 2 years ago, okay? But I'll pose it as the question because it's one of the weird ones, and I'm not advocating for it. I don't advocate for it at all. I don't want any involvement in it. It's just it's a hypothetical that can really test the boundaries of like how you justify and how you go about obtaining knowledge. I guess it's some sort of, I don't know if it's an epistemology thing. Say you have two consenting adults. Say they're like twins. So, and they decide in, I don't know, outside of school, both 20-year-olds are twins. One's male, one's female, and they decide to have sex. What's wrong with that? Like, is it morally bad? Is it morally good or not morally neutral? It's like...
So they're twins,
Yep.
and they decide to do it.
Yep. It makes me visceral. It makes you uncomfortable to kind of think about. But actually, if they have no intend on having children, just want to have sex, both consenting, there's not actually anything like wrong with that. I would say maybe it's morally neutral in a sense, but I wouldn't like condemn it either. It's like, okay,
That
cool.
is...
It's a weird one.
It's not necessary. It's not like... How do I put this? It's not wrong, but it's not... It shouldn't be done, right? Morally and ethically, that is completely wrong.
Yeah,
No.
but that's the thing.
Siblings
Why?
should not...
Yeah, but why? They're consenting,
Because-
so they're adults. They have no intent
Right.
on having children, so there's no like weird abnormalities where you want to think of it like that.
Yeah.
They could go
Yeah,
off on
makes
a
sense.
whole other tree.
'Cause
That's it. That's the end of it.
you're
We could
fucking
apply.
No, the fuck, bro. That's just...
Yeah, but this is what I mean. Yeah, exactly. It's bizarre. I don't like it, but why? What justification or reason can you give behind that? Like, we could apply it to... If we were to apply it to anyone else and we say, okay, they intend to have kids, okay, is a woman that has a high chance of giving birth to an autistic child, should they be allowed to have children? It's like, well, yeah. It's like, well, they've got a genetic deformity. Do we then say that they aren't allowed?
Oh, from genetic the deformities and giving birth and, you know, to this type of children, I have a problem with the world. So, let's say, right?
I'm not gonna let you pivot from the last question, but yeah, we'll loop back around. But go on.
Let's say in the future you decide to have kids, right? And you go for a sonogram, and the doctor says, "Oh, your child will have Down syndrome."
Okay.
Right? It is before the 12th week of pregnancy, right? So it's quite early.
I should just clarify. I was meant to say Down syndrome. I think I said autism before.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say.
some sort of genetic deformity of some kind that you're aware of.
Down,
yeah.
right.
Okay.
Down syndrome, right?
Yep.
And your doctor tells you, "Oh yeah, your kid will 100% have Down syndrome."
Yep.
Will you, what's it called? Will you abort that child, or will you continue it?
Me personally, I know I don't have the capabilities to be able to facilitate a disabled child. So, like, me already knowing that I don't want children, and even furthermore, I don't have the facilities or maybe even the emotional capability. I'm not sure. That might change. To be able to handle a disabled child and like the lifestyle that comes with it, I personally would abort the child, or would at least have like that would be my input on the conversation that would be had following that.
Right. Personally, obviously this is the choice of the woman, 100%, and obviously she should
not
consult
100%,
with.
but yeah,
Right,
there's a heavy hand there. Yeah.
She should obviously consult with the man and all of this, but I believe that the doctor should recommend abortion, because bringing a Down syndrome child into this world, considering the legislation that has just passed, where Down syndrome children and Down syndrome people and children are now allowed to procreate and make more Down syndrome people, I personally believe this brings the human race down. Right.
So you would say that doctors should advocate for eugenics?
Yes. Translate.
I know that's like a spicy way of putting it, but essentially, I would have an issue with the doctor coming in and saying that, because not
necessarily saying it, but being like, okay, so your child will 100% have Down syndrome. We advise, now this is completely your choice, is we advise you, what's it called? You abort the child to not necessarily leave you, but to save you the pain and sorrow and the mental stress of having to raise a child with quite a harsh disability, because autism is okay, right? Autism is absolutely fine. You could 100% deal with
there's
it,
different levels
right?
of it and whatnot.
And the ADHD, ADD, right? All of that is absolutely fine. Any
Mental disability.
any other mental disability can be dealt with, but Down syndrome specifically is it's a very difficult thing to deal with, and Down syndrome and.
But it might be, but I would have an ethical issue with the doctor recommending that if, as I was going to say, those parents have the capabilities to be able to provide for that child anyway. Say if they're multi-millionaires, they might be able to hire support. They might not have to rely on some sort of like government-funded scheme. They might not have to rely on they might not be able words. Jesus, they might not have
podcast?
to. Yeah, exactly. Might not have to like apply for or rely on. That's probably better. Like the community to help them through. If they have the facilities to be able to deal with that, and then maybe even the resources, they should make that choice anyway. I would say there's probably an ethical, or maybe even as far as a moral thing. I don't think a doctor. They should inform obviously the parents if they want, like, if they're gonna know, this is the situation that currently is ahead of us and whatnot. They should inform, and it should be like you should maybe on a heavier side. I would say maybe that's we'll give you the space and the time to consider options if that's something that you want to go through. We'll give you that opportunity. They've got the time to be able to do so with the timetable that you've said about having a scan, this, that, and the other. I don't know about like not so recommending or advising with something, because it's like you don't know the situation of the parents, because it could be that it's just like, yeah, we knew that this could have been an option because the father's father had some sort of like mental disability that we knew that could be passed on genetically, and we knew this was a risk, and it's like, yeah, we knew that this was a risk and we were willing to take that on board, rather than being like, oh yeah, we're just going to advise that you do this thing. It's like, maybe don't have a heavy hand input in this. But me personally, I have a different personal take, and you have a different personal take that other people would take, which is why I have a weird moment when it comes to the recommended thing. Anyway, I want to loop it back around. Fuck it, we're doing an hour, okay? We've got another 15 minutes, we're going to do an hour. I want to take it back to the previous question, though, because, like, we obviously went off on the child thing, and this is the second bit of the conversation, like, with the whole, like, incest thing when it comes to twins. What if they're both male? So there's no chance of children. They're twins.
Edit this out. Edit this out.
No, I'm not editing shit. No, you can censor your own fucking language.
That's gay, bro.
Well, yeah, no shit. That's why I said it. They want to have gay sex because they're twins. They've grown up together. There's no chance of children. What's morally wrong with it?
You know what? If they want to do that,
don't start being fucking snowflakey triggered, okay? I want you to take 10 seconds, just kind of like take a deep breath in and just try and like think of the. I'm not saying think of it specifically, but think of the hypothetical and be like, okay, that's fine. You've got an issue with it. Like, I think most people viscerally have an issue with it, but let's try and ask why. Because this is just a random. This is a hypothetical to try and like think through a thought process of how you justify other thought processes. Be like, right, I have this visceral, emotional, like, reaction to this thing that sounds kind of like, you could say, I don't know, dirty or disgusting or like wrong, or it upsets you or makes you uncomfortable. But why? Why is the interesting bit? Because I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know what the answer is. I just think it's a kind of one of those interesting thought experiments. Because the only other thing that you can think of, like, if you were to take it and say, I'm stalling slightly to give you like time to think through the process you want to go through. But if you were to change it to say like a mother and say a son, there are other issues there because it's like even if they're both above age, there's an implication of like power dynamics, and that becomes an issue in the same way of like someone working at a company could possibly it would be like, I want to say fine, but I'll use the word because I can't think of the other one. It would be like more acceptable to sleep with say a coworker because you're seen on a level playing field than it would be your boss. Because if you say no to your boss, they could fuck you over. They could make your life at work a living hell. But with a coworker, you're seen as this like level playing field. So that's the power dynamics between like maybe a mother and a son. But if it was like two 20-year-olds in like an American college and they're gay, and then be like, okay, cool, we want to do this thing. All right.
I mean, right. I find it less disgusting if two twin girls or twin guys decide to have sex, than if it was a sister and a brother that are twins, right? I find that less disgusting than the sister and the brother.
Why?
I don't know. It's just because I would have to say it's because there's no chance of children, right? Like there's no at all chance of having children, right? So maybe that helps a little.
Okay.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, even mother and son is less disgusting than brother and sister. I don't know, brother and sister just seems incredibly visceral. Like, just thinking about that, I am sick to my stomach.
I have more of an issue with the mother and son thing because of the power dynamics. It's something that you can implement an issue there. It'd be like, the mother is the authority figure in that dynamic, whereas like
some
a
people
brother
like
and sister,
the authority figure.
Yeah, I know, but like that's it, if you were to apply that to other concepts, then yeah, they would like that. But I find an issue with that when it comes to like an authoritative figure of someone that you've had to listen to for the whole of your life. When it comes to like a mother and son, that is an issue that I can arise from that. It's not necessarily unique to that dynamic, but it's more unique than the dynamic would be between like a brother and sister. This is why we got off into the conversation of like kids, because like you could then say, what would the conversation go from there? So it would be like if it was just again a couple that were going to have a child, if they were going to have some sort of like deformality or this, that, and the other, give them the option, this, that, and the other, like, would you have an issue with that in general? Obviously, that you've addressed that, yeah, you have more of an issue with it, but at the end of the day, does it really affect you, kind of thing? And these are just hypothetical moral questions to ask for justification purposes. Because I have less of an issue with like a brother and sister, and even less of an issue when it comes to like twins, because obviously for the reasons that we stated.
Yeah.
But I still couldn't say why, because I'm more on the neutral ground. It's just, it is what it is. Okay, cool. You've both, as consenting adults, decided to take part in an action. It's like, okay, cool. It's like, yeah, you're related. Maybe it seems a little bit weird, but I can't like condemn it.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of a reason otherwise of why not. It just seems weird.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I mean, it's not it's not as bad as what I keep hearing. Whenever I'm outside, I keep hearing, "Oh, you effed your cousin." Like, get away, you pedo, whatever. Like, literally, I could be in the middle of city centre, and all I hear is, "Oh, you fucked your cousin, what a pedo," constantly. I mean, England is a great country for that.
Why is that something that's said?
Because probably happened.
Fuck's sake. From where you're from? Yeah, most likely. See, that's the thing. There's even with that as well. Cousin is like one like family tree removed. Like brother and sister are obviously like very close, like direct blood related and whatnot. And you can probably say cousin is the same, but it's like at least it's one step away kind of thing. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying it's like.
So you want to fuck your cousin?
No, I'm good. They're fucking no. I have no interest in any of this.
Yeah, that's fine.
But no, it's not even that. It's just I have no interest in this. I just think it's an interesting hypothetical to be like, let's try and think through some like weird visceral reactions to things that I have absolutely no reason for holding. I just do, and I'm like, okay, well that's not an argument, is it? It's like saying this thing is a thing because it is, and it's like, well, we got nowhere. We've said nothing.
Yeah.
Any other big life questions that we want to go through after your recent experience? You got any like, I don't want to say weird questions, but like any relationship questions?
Not necessarily questions, but more
we're doing
like...
the spicy. This is the spicy podcast today, so we're doing the spiciest we can. So any other thought processes we want to go through?
Here's how I see relationships at the point in my life of where I'm at. Right. Personally, right now, for whatever reason, I want a relationship. Right. I don't understand why. Right. I was happy with just having fun, not really trying any serious commitment. But right now, I want to try serious commitment.
Okay.
And I've been finding it very difficult to create the serious commitments. Now I understand that I am still at a young age, and many people maybe not look for that at my age. But many of my friends have found the serious commitments before me, and I'm like, well, what am I doing wrong? And then on Friday I got explained, waiting 4 hours for someone is what you're doing wrong, mate.
Well, it's not necessarily what you're doing wrong. It might be So this is the issue that I have when it comes to the red pill conversations that I hear a lot about online, and I've said a lot of the talking points to you as well to try and not coax stuff out of you, but try and talk through some of the weird preconceptions that we have about things. Is like, if you were to live, I know that I've said this to you as well. I don't even know if it was on a podcast. If you were to live your life up to 25, like fucking bitches and doing this, that, and the other, and essentially being selfish, doing what you want to do with no other responsibilities, and then at 25 you go, right, I want a trad wife. Those people aren't interested in you. Like, you're going to look at their past and be like, well, that person's fucked 10 people. And it's like, yeah, but you fucked 50. So the type of people that you're after, you've put out an energy into the world being like, I've been like this, but now I'm going to change. It's like, actually, you've done nothing to show that. Doing a 180 on essentially the lifestyle that you're choosing to have. The people that you then want to attract afterwards aren't going to be the people that are going to be attracted to you. You're going after something that is fucking unicorn levels. Does it happen online? Of course it does, because it's people have influence and people flock towards influence, and the type of people that are going to have the conversations with maybe lean a little bit more towards that. But as the average person living the average life, which I don't want to say the majority of people do. I think the majority of people are kind of in a poorer state, if you will. But let's just take an example for the average. You have to have some sort of value system that you apply to your life and you live through as you do. I've been incredibly so incredibly honest about my past with my current partner and whatnot, and we'll have deep and meaningful conversations about it on the regular. But it's open, it's there. She's done the same. I have no issue when it comes to past stuff. It's if you're a dick to me now, that's where I have more of an issue with.
No.
And this is exactly what's happened in your situation. That person has been a dick to you. At that point, maybe it's easier for me. I just cut them off. I mean, I don't need to deal with you. You don't value my time. I tried to value your time, and you didn't reciprocate that. If you're not going to reciprocate it, then fuck it off. It doesn't matter. But I can very easily write that off. I think, and you can answer this as honestly as you want, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I have a feeling that the reason that you possibly want a relationship is something that you already said, so you may have already answered it, is that your friends are in relationships, and it's a peer pressure thing. You want something that they have. It might not be massively fulfilling, but it's something that you're seeing and you're observing and being like, actually, I wouldn't mind a bit of
that. Right. Here's why I want a relationship. I have had my fair share of flings, if you wish, just had fun nights out, where I could just go do, and then the next day not even remember the person's name. And I have found through experience that it's not fulfilling. It's not fulfilling, and it doesn't bring you the happiness. Does it bring you cool stories? Fuck yeah. It doesn't bring you the happiness that I see from some of my friends, right? I have
Yeah, because you haven't got a meaningful connection with anyone, and
yeah, like
we as humans, I think we sought that.
yeah, I have one of my best friends, right? He's been in a relationship for quite a long time now, and I see how happy he is and the way he talks about his significant other, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want that too, like I want a deep, meaningful connection with someone, and that's why I want a relationship. Like peer pressure, not really. No, I've never really been affected by peer pressure. Like if my friends go and do something, I'm like,
I mean, like a subconscious peer pressure. Like you're observing it in your direct friend group, and it might not be something be like, you need to be in a fucking relationship. It might not be that. It might be like you're observing it in your friend group and being like, actually, this might be a form of peer pressure in a sense of like, oh, I'm going to talk to you about, my other half. We're doing really well. We've built something together. We have these meaningful conversations about how life stuff is going, and it's someone that you can return to and rely on and like have a trust built with. So that might be like one of the reasons why, but I think you're again answering your own question is that you've had the flings in the past, and not to say that your reputation might like precede you, but if that's the impression that other people have got from you, you're gonna still exert that kind of impression. It's like, yeah, you might have had your fair share of. I've done the same. Like, I don't want to go into numbers. I've slept with a lot of people. I don't want to say the majority of them were relationships because that would probably be a little bit of a lie, but it depends on how you want to deem it.
I thought he was going to say, I don't want to say the majority of them were women.
No. But like, I knew that I had to take a step back from that because that's the impression that I'm leaving when you do those kind of things. Like your actions will kind of like speak louder than words as such. There's like, it doesn't matter how many times you say it, but if you're going to be like, yeah, I'm really caring and I want to be in a deep and meaningful I want to have these conversations and build trust with someone. Oh, but I also like slept with 4 people over the last week. And it's like, okay, well, what the fuck? Like pick one. You're having a cake you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. It's not going to work. Like, and to refer to another saying, you've made your bed, you need to sleep in it. Like, that's the kind of energy that you're exerting because that's how you've lived through your values, and now all of a sudden it's your values have changed. The type of people that you want to attract, the meaningful connections and relationships you now want to build up, those people aren't interested in you because what they might have in their mind, even if they've heard it fourth hand through someone else, would be like, oh, that's the guy that has slept with a few people and just kind of like fucked them off. I can't remember their name. I was like, well, I don't want to be the receiving end of that. Why would I give that guy any like time of day? I was like, I know, obviously, rather unfortunately for this particular person, they didn't give you the time of day, but maybe that's the mindset that they have. Maybe, but I'd say just take a step back and kind of clear that, if you will. You know how like the internet moves fast now. Yeah. Next week there'll be another story, like the other story that you sent me on Instagram about the whole fucking Chinese balloon. There were 3 of them while Trump was in office and no one said a fucking word. But yeah, there we are. But yeah, take a step back from it. It will come in time. Maybe don't like actively search for it. That's a piece of advice that I was told quite a bit is typically when you're not looking, it will turn up. Like I wasn't looking for the relationship that I'm in now. It just kind of naturally occurred, and it was kind of, well, I say naturally. We still haven't set like a relationship date. We just kind of fell into this thing that became long term because we both put in the effort. That's it. We did it through our actions rather than like sitting down at a conference table, looking at each other, going, right, today's date, we're now together. And it's like that never happened. It just we don't have a date. We're gonna arbitrarily pick one at some point, I'm sure. We had a very brief conversation about it, but you'll get there. Don't worry about it. Okay, you're way younger than me. It's passing on all the life advice. Anyway, I keep overtaking all of these fucking podcasts. I have more life experience than you, so I have more to say. So shut up. Anything else?
No. You kind of shut me up.
Well, I don't want to shut you up because I think that they're all interesting talking points. They're definitely things we can go over.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we talked yesterday? I was like, oh, if you play Hogwarts Legacy, you're transphobic, right?
Was this yesterday? Do you mean last podcast?
Yes, I mean last podcast.
Okay, like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And you know what the trans community have done, which I believe it's 100% wrong for doing that. They're 100% wrong for doing that.
Yeah,
They have said, oh, you're a Twitch streamer that streams this game, right? Oh, we're gonna ban you on Twitch now.
I haven't seen anything about the Twitch banning thing. I've seen it on Twitter. I'll try and keep this really reasonably short. There was a guy on Twitter who's developed a website. Have they streamed that HogwartsGame.com or something along them type of lines, and you can put in a Twitch streamer's name, and it will tell you whether they've streamed the game. It's fucking broken though, isn't it? Of course it's fucking broken because none of these things are going to work. If you put your category as Hogwarts Legacy on Twitch, that counts as you playing the game once. Even if you've never bought it, you've never played it, you just put yourself in that category, it adds a count to your name. And it's like, well, that doesn't fucking... Of course that doesn't count. If you just change your Twitch category to that particular game, doesn't mean you've bought it or you endorse it. But that's the other viewpoint very quickly as well that I'll touch on is like, just because you buy the game does not mean that you endorse every single part of that game. Like, I'm pretty sure in that you kill other things with magic. I don't think every human being that plays a game endorses killing other things with magic.
I mean, you never know.
Well, no, there's going to be a human out there that doesn't endorse killing other things with magic. Like, you don't have to endorse everything from every bit of media that you bring in. Like, we play Tarkov. I have no fucking clue if Nikita endorses the Ukrainian-Russian war. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just want to play a shooter. I just want to play a shooter game. I'll follow him on Twitter to get like battle state like updates. I don't give a shit what he thinks about that kind of thing. Like, he just released the game. It doesn't mean I endorse every viewpoint that he has. Like, who's the developer for Valorant? Is like what, Riot? I'm sure they've probably done some fucking Nazi shit in their past. I don't know. I'm making shit up because it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, we played the game in the past. It doesn't matter. We don't endorse it. But yeah, I'll look into the whole like Twitch banning thing, because if there's a category on Twitch, you know what? Last thing that we'll do before we disappear, I'm going to open up Firefox because Firefox is superior. Twitch. If I just go, okay, let's go categories. Hogwarts Legacy. They even have their own Twitch channel called Hogwarts Legacy TV. Okay, I seriously doubt that they're banning people for playing the game if they've got their own Twitch stream. Hang on, let me pause this before it plays anything. Yeah, it's literally a Hogwarts Legacy TV on Twitch. So I don't think they're necessarily banning people. Maybe if they're saying shit in the background, like while playing the game, like okay. There's Tarkov streamers that I follow on Twitch that are currently playing Hogwarts Legacy. One of them is the most left-wing person that I know, and they're currently playing. Even the title of the video is "I solemnly swear I'm up to no good." Yeah, of course. Okay, well, they obviously don't give a shit. Okay, they're playing it for clout or whatever. But yeah, I'll look into it. We'll have a look at it for next week and see if people have been banned for playing Hogwarts Legacy and what the context is surrounding it.
Yeah.
Where did you see it?
You're gonna want to kill me for this. Instagram Reels.
No, that's fine.
Or YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, it's where other people are going to put those kind of things anyway. It's where some people get their media, so I can't blame you for being involved in that kind of thing. But yeah, that's fair. Right. I want to put together, this is the last thing that we're going to say about, I want to put together, and this is podcast related, some sort of outro for our podcast. Otherwise, for I don't know what it's going to be. It's probably not going to be in this one, but for most of our podcasts, we just kind of end and we go bye, and that's it. Because I don't give a shit. Okay, it's the end of the podcast. No one's here by this point. Okay, our retention is next to nothing. If you get to this point, comment fucking cabbages in the comments. Okay.
Yes. Comment cabbages.
Cabbages. Yeah, it's gonna be cabbage medal. Anyone gets that reference, I will give you 1 billion internet points for the reference. You won't know what that is. It's before you're even fucking born. But yeah, I want to put together some sort of outro. Maybe for the next one we'll have a little bit more of an idea, but I don't know. You any ideas? Any ideas from you? Something that you want to do for the end of the podcasts?
I don't know. Just something. Because realistically, no one's watching the fucking outro.
Oh, in that case, bye. Say bye. Say bye. Say it.
Goodbye.